desgracia, imagínate esto te pasó a ti, la mala suerte, ¿no? ¿Qué tú le dirías a personas que en tu caso podrían, que le pasara una situación similar?
Que no se queden callados. Que a pesar de que es un poco, al principio te sientes humillado, avergonzado, te ayuda, en el recibir el apoyo de la comunidad es también muy bueno.
No dejar el caso en el anonimato, sino sacarlo a relucir.
Sí, de verdad que sentirte respaldado es algo que, bueno, ves que no estás luchando solo y a la misma vez estás educando a la comunidad.
Eso es cierto. Yo pienso que aparte o sea, me imagino que has obtenido dos tipos de daño: físico, que aparentemente se borra, pero el psicológico, que es el más impactante y profundo. ¿Qué puedes decir de eso?
Bueno, fíjate, a pesar de que me afectó mucho y tuve muchos días tristes y...
¿Te dio como deseo de no salir nunca más a la calle?
Es correcto. Me sentía que, en el día, como tú dijiste, en el milenio ahora, y estamos volviendo hacia atrás. Pero ahora mismo lo que estoy viviendo trato de recordar más el apoyo de las personas.
Eso te hace más fuerte.
Y es un sentimiento súper bueno. De verdad que yo trato de cada experiencia sacar el provecho en lo bueno de la experiencia, y creo que lo bueno que me trajo esta experiencia fue unirme más con mi comunidad. Creo que eso es lo más que trato de vivir.
¿Tienes idea de lo que se te va a hacer esta noche aquí para que esté invitado?
Más o menos, no tengo mucha...
Bueno, la sorpresa esa la verán ustedes después de algunos comerciales. Para terminar, me gustaría que ya lo ha dicho todo y ha sido muy claro. Queremos de parte de también Frutestaña darte nuestro apoyo incondicional. Ya sabes que a través de nuestro medio pues nos escuchan y nos ven, y eso es algo poderoso. Porque mientras no sepan lo que pasa, nadie se da cuenta de lo que ha pasado. Imagínate, si tú dejas tu caso en el suelo, como no le das importancia, nunca nadie se hubiera sabido y ni las cosas no hubieran llegado al extremo que han llegado. Pero quiero que aproveches las cámaras para que le digas a la audiencia, a la comunidad en general, tu sentir y qué tipo de apoyo tú necesitas de parte de ellos.
Bueno, el apoyo que necesito de la comunidad es que eduquen a un amigo, a un hermano, a sus vecinos, familiar, lo que sea. Educar de que la homofobia no es bueno y que hay que tolerar, hay que aceptar a personas. Todos somos diferentes y no porque somos diferentes van a odiar a esa persona o le van a dar golpes.
Bueno, creo que él ha sido claro y preciso. Me gustó la manera como ha expresado lo que sus sentimientos. A pesar de todo, veo que no tiene rencor, y eso es muy importante en un ser humano. Tienes un corazón muy lindo y creo que por eso Dios te bendice todos los días. Siempre tienes que estar pendiente de eso, de que a pesar de que el mundo está allí, el mundo es engañoso, el mundo es extraño, Dios siempre te ama.
Correcto.
Como sea, Dios siempre te ama. Yo creo que tú lo sabes, y eso es lo que también te mantiene con la frente en alto. Queridos televidentes, pues esto ha sido todo por esta noche. Gracias por la paciencia y la atención brindada, y una vez más felicitar, y estoy emocionada de haberte conocido. Yo cuando vi el artículo pues me conmocioné mucho, y más me emocionó saber que te iba a entrevistar y que te iba a conocer en persona. Eres una persona muy linda y ya sabes que estamos aquí para lo que sea.
Gracias.
¿Ok? Encantada entonces. Sí, has visto de que ha cambiado en cuanto a las estadísticas, ha cambiado el hecho de que en la escuela no hay, porque yo recuerdo que años anteriores pues se daba de que, por ejemplo, empezó el odio racial, lo primero, ¿no? Blancos no podían ver negros. Ahora creo que se ve que negros no pueden ver latinos o negros no pueden ver blancos. ¿Tú crees que...?
El racismo existe.
Siempre ha existido.
Siempre ha existido y siempre va a existir, ¿entiendes?
Pero ya hay más tolerancia.
Hay más tolerancia, seguramente hay más tolerancia. Y con educación la tolerancia más o menos se acepta más.
Ok, si una persona, vamos a poner, una persona llega al centro, ¿cuáles son los pasos a seguir? O sea, que esa persona haya sido víctima de violencia doméstica o de odio racial o de los otros tipos de violencia que existen. ¿Cuáles son los pasos a seguir?
Bueno, nosotros tenemos una línea de emergencia que es 24 horas por día. 365 días
a la semana, al año.
¿Entiendes? Entonces la persona nos llama en el turno de teléfono, coge una voluntaria o una consejera por teléfono, entonces nosotros hacemos un appointment, entonces ellos vienen. Si no, las personas pueden venir aquí a las 10 de la mañana, de 10 a 3 es cuando pueden venir en persona y se inscriben aquí y nosotros vamos hablándoles a ellos sobre el tema que pasa y le damos una consejera pendiente al caso de ellos, si es así de novio, si es de sexo sexual, asuntos sexuales o la violencia doméstica.
Ajá, de acuerdo.
Entonces,
a eso lo agrupan.
Sí, lo agrupamos. Le damos la consejera más.
La que se adapte al caso en que...
caso,
ajá. ¿Y qué tipo de ayuda ofrecen? O sea, una vez de que la persona ha llegado al
como le dije a
proyecto.
ustedes, y se lo voy a leer para que no...
Es mejor, ajá.
¿Entiendes? Estamos 24 horas por el teléfono, consejeración por teléfono 24 horas, y somos bilingües en inglés y en español.
Que quede claro.
Consejeración en persona a corto tiempo, pero yo tenemos casos aquí que damos 2 y 3 años, depende de la corte también.
Sí.
Grupos de apoyo para víctimas de violencia doméstica.
Ajá.
Déjame mirar, estoy un poquito así.
Está bien, no hay problema.
Asistencia a obtener la orden de protección, acompañamiento a las policías, a los hospitales, a las cortes.
Todo eso hacen.
Sí, eso.
Pues.
Entonces, asistencia en solicitar de comprensión a víctimas de crimen y asistencias en otros
agencias de servicios sociales.
Y lo más importante que nuestra servicio es confidencial y gratis.
Gratis, eso es muy importante, gratis y confidencial. Yo pienso que eso es algo muy importante porque muchas personas a veces son objeto de este tipo de violencia y por razones, o sea, no quieren darse a conocer, no quieren que salga a la luz pública mediante los medios de comunicación o lo que sea.
Seguro, porque
y
quiere saber que
yo no sé si hasta aquí llegó a oídos el caso de Nelson Torres, que creo que en este programa se va a mencionar al final de que él fue objeto de
en el Bronx,
que sucedió en el Bronx. Si llegó
pero no puedo hablar, no puedo hablar sobre eso, es confidencial.
No, pero él ya lo hizo, público y fue invitado a nuestro programa y creo que al final de ese programa ustedes lo van a poder apreciar la primera vez que hablamos con él, donde él pues se expresa y también al mismo tiempo da las gracias porque dice él que si no hubiera hablado nunca se hubiese sabido lo que pasó.
Es cierto,
o sea,
si
como tú dices, las personas les da temor y al saber de que no es confidencial, de que lo van a publicar, como que se abstienen de hacerlo. Pero en este caso él decidió, o sea, él tomó la decisión de hablar y salió adelante y gracias a Dios pues dice que ya a estas alturas 2 de los muchachos que le atacaron pues están en prisión.
Sí, y aquí también, si la persona no quiere hacer nada, nosotros podemos más que documentarlo, pero sin el permiso de la persona no hacemos nada. Nosotros tenemos que tener el permiso de esa persona para seguir adelante con el caso. Sin eso no hacemos nada, porque la confidencial y el trabajo que hace aquí tenemos que apoyar a esa persona, pero con permiso de ellos.
Tiene que ser autorizado por la propia persona.
Por la propia persona, porque ellos son los últimos que se deciden qué van a hacer. Nosotros le podemos dar la carretera para dónde ir.
Exacto.
Pero ellos se deciden. Nosotros no hacemos esa decisión. Ellos deciden lo que quieren hacer por ellos, por el porvenir de ellos.
¿Tienes estadísticas como, por ejemplo, porque el odio se da a todas las edades, ¿no? Si le llaman casualmente teenagers, muchachos adolescentes, o la mayoría de ellos son adultos, las personas
La mayoría vieron siendo adultos, pero también tenemos casos de
adolescentes, sí.
Y si no podemos tratarlos aquí, lo referimos a una organización que
es afiliada a ustedes mismos, sí. Tu función primordial aquí en este centro, ¿tú puedes decirnos cuál es?
Casos de violencia doméstica y casos
de asaltos sexuales.
Sí.
Exclusivamente eso.
Exclusivamente.
Contra cualquier persona heterosexual, como también las personas gay, lesbianas.
Sí, nosotros, no discriminación, ¿entiendes? Si una persona que es heterosexual nos llama también, nosotros podemos apoyarla y ayudarla. Y depende de cómo la persona se siente trabajando con nosotros. Si no se siente muy cómoda, entonces le damos una referencia a una agencia que pueda asistirlo y si ellos se sientan mejor. Todo depende en el cómo cómodo se siente la persona aquí. Sí. No tiene que ser homosexual o gay o lesbiana o transgénero. Si una persona llama, si una víctima de crimen, estamos aquí para ayudarlo.
¿Tú podrías darnos a través de la cámara la dirección exacta de tu oficina?
Bueno,
aquí?
Nosotros estamos localizados en el 240 de la 35 oeste, entre séptima y octava en el segundo piso.
Ajá.
Y nuestro número de teléfono es 212-714 o 1141.
1141. Si esta persona tiene que viajar en tren, ¿cuál es el tren más inmediato?
Bueno, cualquier tren que llega a la 34.
Porque está cerca de Penn Station.
Sí, estamos cerca de Penn Station. El A, el E, el C, el 1, el 9 y el 2.
¿Y tienes página en el internet donde pueden visitarle?
Sí, estamos en el internet, el www.adp.org.
Ok, espero que quedó claro. Y si no, al final del programa, ustedes pueden leer al fondo de la cámara, de la pantalla, donde pueden encontrar el número de teléfono y la página del internet. Si quieres mandar un mensaje a través de la cámara a toda la audiencia en general de qué deben hacer, si necesitan ayuda, qué esperas de la gente, necesitan apoyo, todo eso tú eres libre de decir.
Si algo de un crimen le pasa a ustedes, tienen apoyo con esta organización. No tiene que ser gay, lesbian, transgénero ni nada. Si es una víctima de un crimen, hay ayuda, pero tienen que llamarnos a nosotros para nosotros poder ayudarles a ustedes.
Eso es todo. Pues yo creo, queridos televidentes, que ha sido pues claro y conciso lo que hemos venido a corroborar aquí a este centro, que se me escapaba algo, porque me di cuenta que las instalaciones son nuevas, súper modernas. ¿Cuándo fue?
Bueno, nosotros empezamos como hace mes y medio que empezaron a renovar nuestra oficina.
Oh, pero están súper preciosas. Pues yo creo que nuestro coanfitrión Izzy se va a encargar de hacer un recorrido por las instalaciones, y la persona que le acompaña, creo que es Basil, ¿verdad?
Sí, Basil Lucas.
Él va a ser el que le va a acompañar, y espero que ustedes disfruten de todo el programa que tuvimos hoy, que hayan aprendido, porque eso es lo más importante de nuestro programa, que ustedes aprendan, se informen, se involucren, y si es posible ayudar, pues aquí estamos abiertos para que nos ayuden, porque vinimos al mundo a ayudar y a que nos ayuden también.
Let's talk about that a little bit.
Community organizing kind of keeps us all, organized, so to speak. For example, they help us when we get calls in for trainings. They let us know where we have to go and what the specific needs are for that training.
And who calls you in?
Well, Darlene Torres is our education and outreach coordinator. So an agency would call from the outside to say that they need a sensitivity training, let's say, or they have new staff that they want to learn about the gay and lesbian community, and they kind of, streamline what they want to learn. So Darlene kind of gets the topic, and she finds a suitable person in the office to go out and do that training.
Now, are these groups more, whether schools or businesses or community organizations, who says we need sensitivity training?
Everyone does, whether it's the police, hospitals, businesses, schools. And if we're not the right place for that training to happen, we find a gay and lesbian resource that they can do a better job than we can.
Right.
For example, with youth, we do work with youth, but there are other places like Glisten that works in the school system. They're more in tune with the high school, so we would call them and say, look, we have an issue here, and we would funnel that client to them or that training to them if that's a better place for it to be done.
Have you ever promoted your services to different organizations saying, hey, this is what we do, if you're interested? Yes. Okay.
Well, now that Darlene is here, she's been with us for the last year, it's been a much tighter ship in promoting what we do, getting the information out of what we do. We also have a new volunteer coordinator, Mr. Jacino, who goes out, to, like, for example, our dangerous parks where we have to put flyers out. He gets folks in from the high schools, from the other organizations, from just the community to help him get our word out. So we use, in CO, community organizing, the volunteer coordinator and the education portion work in tandem to get a lot of that work.
During the training, what are some of the important points and issues that you need to teach these organizations when you're training them?
Well, one major fact is that gays and lesbians and transgender folks are everywhere. We are not, a group of folks that are to be toyed with, so to speak, and we're not just there to be abused. We have families, we have lives, we have the rights. We're fighting for those rights like everyone else in this world is. So I think whatever we do about safety, we talk about the fact that this community deserves equal access to all the things that every other folk in this country or in the world is entitled to. So we ask for those same things or push for those same things. So
right.
A major point across the board for all the work we do, whether it's domestic violence, hate crimes,
Have you found a lot of positive responses when you go into these organizations and present what you're presenting and do that training? Do you get good response and openness, or
I say for the most part, yes, because we see that positive response when we get referrals here.
Right.
But when we see folks coming in who we would never see, I mean, you know, we hear things about the DL community or the, you know, different, let's say, foreign folks, immigrants who come here and may not know that we're here. But when you see folks coming in who we would normally would not see, then we know that
right,
we're having an impact.
The word is out there.
Yes, we're getting to different places.
And how can we volunteer for the organization? How can we get involved? What are some of the things volunteers can do?
Well, you would call our volunteer coordinator, again, and you tell them what you would be interested in doing. It could be the hotline. It could be, for example, the Courage Awards that is happening next week. There are things that need to happen to have that event go off smoothly. There's Pride. You know, Pride is the whole summer, so we have all those events that go on. The tabling that takes place, the information sharing that we need to do, giving out of all the information. So Pride, Courage Awards, hotline training, and special events. You know, there are things that sometimes our volunteers have more expertise than we do in-house.
Right.
So we look for anything and everything that we can use when the time is right. So it's not just a one-shot deal about one thing. You can do a lot of different things to help.
Right. Okay. And is there a general number you can let us know to call?
That number is 212-714-1141. It's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and all the calls are confidential, whether you want to volunteer or whether you want to, you know, whether you need our services.
Okay. So what else do you have for the rest of the year besides the Courage Award? Do you have anything else planned? Or?
Well, actually, for today, this is a Halloween, so we're very much aware that, you know, when there are holidays or special, like people wearing costumes and you can't really see faces, we're kind of very much on, we're on alert this evening to make sure that people are going to be safe. We have a hotline number for the police department that if things are going to happen tonight, for example, as you're out in the parade, this number to call. Our hotline is definitely up and running. You know, our volunteers are waiting to take the calls. After the Courage Awards, you know, there's going to be the election, and whenever there are political things that happen in this country, as you know, there's always a backlash.
Right.
We've been pushing a lot for our rights recently, whether it's Lawrence versus Texas, whether it's the marriage push, whether it's dignity for all students in schools, SONDA, and you name it. And we've seen a concerted effort where the numbers, you know, of violent attacks against our community have been climbing consistently since 2003. So if there's, we have to keep looking at that. And then holidays, and now that the seasons and weather has changed, people get more vulnerable. You know, some folks, you know, have different lifestyles and may go out to different places. So we try to get up our safety, you know, information out about, you know, safe cruising, safe dating. You know, if you know.
What are some tips? What are some safe dating, safe cruising tips for the audience?
One of the important things is to know that, you know, we can't be so ashamed of our lives that no one knows what we're doing. You know, say if we're going out to parties, or going to go to parks, or whatever the case may be, got to have somebody, a buddy, someone to know, to have your back. If you don't have that somebody, you know, we have so many organizations out here, and the kids are talking now about setting up, like, you know, those blogs where they can even say that to their friends, I'm going here, this is who I'm going with, this is the name he's given me, the phone number he's given, and when they come back, they can delete that thing or say, I'm fine. You know, so there are many new ways that young people in our community are finding to keep safe. You know, not blaming ourselves when things happen, reporting crimes, because when we have the statistics, we can push for more legislation, push for more funding, and all those things. So those are important things to remember.
Is there a big reluctance for people to report crimes against them?
Sure. You know, we have this, you know, phenomenon that, you know, the old closet is now the new DL, which is, you know, equals the same shame. And, you know, a lot of folks living in that world, you know, are victims of crime and are very hesitant in coming forward to report. There are days I go out of this office, and this building, as you can see, it has nothing gay or lesbian outside, but you see people nervously smoking cigarettes before they walk upstairs to come talk to us. And why is that? You know, I think there's a presumption of they're going to be outed as coming to a gay agency. There's a shame that people, you know, and men report less than women. So you see a lot of those things, you know, affecting the reporting we get. So that's why we do the trainings. We go out and talk to all kinds of groups. We go to the parks where people are going, or we partner with folks who go to those places so that our word gets out, so that they know we're here. Even if they call anonymously, give us a fake name, we'll take the information because it's going to help in the long run.
I was going to say, what do you tell someone if they say, I was a victim of a crime, but I don't want to put my name anywhere, I don't want to go to a police station? What would you tell them?
Well, one of the important things that I encourage clients to do is, even if you don't want to have an arrest or you don't want to push all that, it's important to make a police report, because many of our clients are undocumented, have very little insurance or no insurance, and may need medical attention. So if nothing else, a police report with that number identifying a crime happened to you can get you services beyond measure. Reconstructive surgery, moving from one dangerous place to a safer location if you have to move your apartment, ongoing counseling for you and the members of your family who may be affected by the crime that's happened to you. Let's say you're a rape victim, you have children, your kids can now have counseling because of how their lives have been upset by what has happened to you. So there are many, many ways to help folks. So I tell them, and even if they choose not to report, they can do the work here. They can have counseling. They can learn from the mistake they might have made, you know, reevaluate, reassess, and make different choices for themselves. So we are here to just kind of help people get back to the normalcy of their lives before, especially in this community. And this year, in my opinion, and AVP's opinion, when we look at stuff, is that it's been very brutal in the violence we've seen. In New York City alone, we've had close to 10 murders, whether it's Rashawn Brazell or Jamal James or Eleanor Jackson or Marvin Page, just to name a few of the people that we know about that were members of the community.
That you know about even, you don't even know what's going on.
Right, exactly.
Oh my God.
And the reasoning for that is multiple, whether it's the fact that we're pushing for more rights, whether it's you have our president saying he's going to vote for an amendment to, or ask for an amendment to have marriage to be between a man and a woman, whatever the reason, or whatever it's our visibility. This has been a very rough year, so we're working even harder to get the word out that people need to be more mindful of their own safety as they're coming and going, to report things that happen to them, because that's the only way. If we're not visible, we won't get any support or any services.
Has there been any sort of trend into each of the crimes? Is it all randomly, different circumstances, or is it all gang-related? Or?
Well, they're all different. I mean, some have been gang-related, but the one common denominator for most crimes that we perceive to be hate crimes are, is that a hate crime is not just a crime where you see one injury. When you see what we call the overkill factor, usually in this country, we're a country of the gun, Smith & Wesson, you shoot somebody across the street and you're gone. But here, when a hate crime happens, you see the mutilation of the body, further things done to the person after they're injured. Maybe the gunshot might have killed them, but then they're cut up, or stuff is carved into their body, or they're even further humiliated, even when they're dead. I had a case a few years ago where the kid was burned, strangled, sodomized with a broomstick, dumped in a dumpster, and then set on fire. Now, he was dead after the first shot, the first strangulation, but to do all of that to someone makes you, pause and wonder, well, was this a hate crime? So when you see anything going on in the world where there's more than just one kind of injury to the person, and then you have multiple attackers against one person.
Right.
When you see the person who was attacked, you can imagine he had no chance against the 10, 12 people who attacked him, but this is what happens.
No, also, a hate crime could even be verbal. It could be a verbal attack. And that happens every day, and you don't think it's a big crime, but it is.
But it is, because we normalize violence so much in our lives. And a funny thing that people should think about is that, for example, we live in New York City, and we're pretty comfortable here. But when we leave New York City and go someplace that we're not sure about, we kind of curb our behavior. That's kowtowing to the violence on some levels, because you're not comfortable, you're not in your safety zone, so you're gonna be a little different. And that's how violence is so insidious, that you don't even have to be the direct victim of something, but you know what happened to your friend, or you heard the story of what happened to this person, you read the press clipping about something, so you know that you have to be more careful when you're not in your safe zone. So that's how violence is everywhere, and we must pay attention to it.
Right. I mean, and we're not here to scare anybody,
no,
but the facts are the facts, and this is not for you to say, oh my God, let me get back into my house and change my clothes, and not at all. But you need to know what is going on in the community, what's happening to people that you know, and it may not happen to you. God forbid it does. We hope that it doesn't, but it's important to have him tell us and really put descriptions of what is happening, because you don't think it's happening, but it is.
Bienvenidos a las noticias de Fruta Extraña. Soy Alberto Denis. AIDS is devastating the Hispanic community in the Bronx. HIV/AIDS, which afflicts more than 1 million U.S. residents, has had a devastating effect on the New York borough of the Bronx, particularly among its big Hispanic population, which considers the area the pandemic's ground zero in this country. Among minorities, the HIV virus has been particularly harsh on the Latino population, which comprises 14% of the U.S. public, but has 20% of the AIDS cases. In addition, the AIDS infection rate among Hispanics is 3 times that among the non-Latino white population. The situation has sparked a general mobilization by civil organizations and social entities who are trying to compensate for the withdrawal of public funds in the AIDS fight and the promotion of sexual abstinence as a viable means of preventing infection in the United States. Some 400 civil and religious organizations, hospitals, and groups of HIV sufferers have banded together to form the Attention Network for AIDS in the Bronx, which is dedicated to informing the public about the devastating effects of the disease. The network tries to increase AIDS awareness within and the information available to the Latino community, which traditionally has considered it taboo to speak about sexuality or drug use, and where people are very reticent to be tested for HIV/AIDS. The Latino AIDS Commission says that 48% of the Latino carriers of the disease only discover they have AIDS when the infection is already very advanced, a fact that prevents them from receiving the benefits offered by early treatment. One of the main problems is to get rid of the taboo among Hispanics, many of whom are religious, about discussing the matter at home or in their communities, said Reverend Rosa Caraballo, who has 20 years of experience in raising AIDS awareness in churches. Thank you.
Queridos amigos, este es el fin del programa por este día. Espero que pues hayan aprendido mucho, que haya quedado claro muchas cosas que pues no se habían dicho anteriormente, o ahora creo que lo pudieron comprobar con lo que Izzy hizo y con lo que Giovanna también. Creo que está más claro que nunca. Queremos darle las gracias por habernos acompañado este día. Y no sé qué tú le quieres decir a ellos.
Just again, we're not here to scare you, just to keep the facts, and don't feel like you have to hide back into your house anymore. Be yourselves, have a good time. Just know there's information out there for you.
Ok, muchísimas gracias. Entonces nos veremos la próxima semana. Les quiere mucho Giovanna en Izzy. Chao, chao, bye bye.